Here we go, folks. Our next two speakers, you should know, hey, we're really excited. They're going to be talking about enhancing your learning impact.
All right, here we go. So thanks, Mark, for the intro. And hello, everyone. I appreciate everyone taking some time to come to our breakout session. Enhance learning impact and user experience using the ELB suite of tools. This is where I'm joined by Janet Joseph. Hello, Janet. Thanks for joining.
Hello. Thank you.
I got to level set and give some background. I got to tell you, I'm super excited about this session, primarily because Janet and I have been on this journey together since 2006, almost 16 years now. It's pretty cool. It's crazy it's been that long, but Janet was on the very first version of the LMS platform back then, and iteration after iteration, and we deployed new versions and timely relevant updates, and all of our customers get them. This agile approach has worked pretty well for Janet and the team and all of our clients, but it's also allowed them to stay on a cutting edge modern technology platform. And I'm excited for Janet to kind of show you a little bit behind the scenes on what we've been doing to the audience. So thanks, Janet.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So Janet, why don't you kick things off and tell everyone a little bit about you, your role, the training objectives that you've been tasked with at Lincoln Financial, to give some background.
Sure. Thank you. So as a seasoned learning and development professional with a target reach of approximately 20,000 participants annually, I've been engaged in directing the delivery of virtual training programs, planning training conferences and events, and implementing continuous improvement strategies and directing program development campaigns. Our Rockstar platform, branded by us as Virtual University, has served us well. We've managed 24/7 reach to all of our audiences, which I'll share a bit more about our audiences in a little bit, and have delivered mandatory time-sensitive training, as well as explored creative learning solutions in line with our ever-changing technology and learning and development world. Well, I certainly don't want to steal the thunder, but we're also excited to have been able to push the use of training arcades and rehearsal.
That's awesome. I appreciate you sharing that with us. You've been tasked with a lot of training things. I guess let's take a look at some of the ways you've leveraged the technology for your objectives. Let me share this. I know this product wheel people have probably seen quite a bit on ELBX or our website, but everything on this wheel is designed to create better learning experiences, which you've probably heard from all the hosts. Janet and the Lincoln team has leveraged a bunch of these tools and make training interactive and engaging. Let me pull up my little laser pointer here. This learning platform side, which is our Rockstar Learning Platform, which Janet referenced to, their custom version or their branded environment of Virtual University. That's what they coin it and promote it internally at Lincoln. This gamification little sliver here is a training arcade for developing engaging games and delivery inside the LMS, but also instructor-led environment, which we have an interesting story about the way we've done it at Lincoln in the past. And then the video practice sliver over here, which is our rehearsal tool. This is where learners can create practice pitches on certain products and difficult conversations so they can get feedback from coaches and mentor. So let's share some examples today, Janet. Can you tell us a few ways that you've been leveraging the Rockstar Learning Platform, or I guess your VU, to provide better learning experiences at Lincoln?
Sure. So one of the features amongst many of course, that I love with our virtual university is our seamless ability to tie in our company's hierarchy by mapping every single user to the respective user group type. Okay, so this means that of our annual 2,000 pieces of content that we maintain on the site, we have 9 user groups that we actively tag content to and know that they have a customized view only of the content that they should see, which is driven by their hierarchy. So similarly, the opportunity to easily manage the entire health and strength of the site and spotlight for each user group only the content that they might be interested to see at the top of the page is another cool and reliable feature. And the enroll feature, that one was a big one. We used it with our cybersecurity training awareness program. We were provided with a third-party file that was an approved SCORM file, which we ultimately uploaded to Virtual University. And in this case, we had a subset of our audience that we were to tag it to, about 900 people. The point is that these 900 people, they got their personalized view of this content and no one else on the site could see it. So for the user, upon entry to the site, the first course that displayed to them was the course we enrolled them in, showing them the due date, and from there they could choose to complete the course or come back later at a later time convenient to them. The course remained displayed in their Enroll tab for as long as it was outstanding. Once completed, the system then triggered a completion notification that arrived directly in their inbox. For the admin, the ability for us to easily set this up, set the course up, enroll them at the due date, and just walk away and come back when it was convenient was extremely helpful to us. So our ability to get reports for the course was always available real time. And again, it really helped us provide 24/7 insight for the progress of the course overall. So I can talk about it all day long, but Peter, could you show everyone an example of what I was talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me share my screen. I'll bring on, Jen, you can see the Virtual University dashboard here, right?
That is correct, thank you.
Perfect. So what we're looking at here, this kind of goes to the key points that Janet was talking about in her slide. This is essentially the dashboard in which Janet has created for their virtual university environment and all those personalized experiences for the learners that come in. So learner-wise, they come in with a certain enterprise. That is their grouping. She mentioned they have 9 groups. So they could technically have 9 different appearances. I think they're, say, pretty consistent brand-wise across the board. So everything's going to primarily look Lincoln virtual university focused, and they get their own environment. But the content in which they see is also permissioned by these things called learner groups on the back end. So this is going to provide that personalized experience. So when a learner comes in, that content is laser focused to what they're supposed to see. And it's displayed in a couple of different ways. As you see here, Janet referenced that Enroll tab. That is the key catalyst of delivering training internally in a very direct way, because I often call it's required content. Hey, I have to take this cybersecurity content. So it's been enrolled to me by the system automatically, by Janet and her team, by leadership. Someone has enrolled me in this physical course. So I'm going to be able to gain access to it and click in and start taking it. You can set up the due dates. You can make this reoccurring every year. It's really pushing out notifications to learners so they can gain access to this content and finish it in a timely manner. If I clicked into this enrolled course, a course is a collection of content. In this case, the content is one SCORM object. It's that beautiful cybersecurity course that was provided, uploaded, and then delivered out to the audience. You'll see here, SCORM plays all natively inside the application. The supporting information is always down below. So learners have a consistent flow of how to get the things. And then the learner just interacts and engages with the cyber content and completes it on their schedule and their timing. And this is what gets reported to the back end. So you get a tally that everyone's completed it on time, and now they're in compliance with cybersecurity training. So Enroll plays a big part of making sure people finish. And I want to say it's almost like an 80 or 90% completion rate when things are enrolled, as opposed to something that's maybe more passive and just just in the library. Now, this feature tab is where you were talking about, we can serve up other relevant content based on their role or their group. This is more like elective. So because they are a planner, because they're staff, because they're admin, they can see other sets of content. And that content might be individual modules. That content might be full courses. Hey, other things you might be interested in. That's where you can feature it to those different groups of learners in the organization. And when there's thousands and thousands of learners, you can have different learner group experiences in these feature tabs for everybody. There's also things like, hey, show me the newest, latest, and greatest that's been added to the platform. Show me what's trending, the most recently viewed stuff. So obviously cybersecurity was a big one this last couple months. So it's top of the list with most viewed. So that's where you really can kind of share a lot of stuff on the featured side of things. And then the rest of the stuff is just more for the learner. Things that they've saved here, they want to go back in and reference, boards for creating boards of content, sharing them with others if they thought they would like this. Hey, check this out, you might like it. It's kind of like Pinterest for learning. It's kind of cool. Events for your calendar of events, and channels for kind of capturing some content from subject matter experts, letting them contribute some content to you to leverage inside of a course on the back end. So lots you can do back here. Lots Janet's done here on the virtual university side. So I hope it's helpful for everyone to see. So Janet, let's talk a little bit now about the training arcade. Can you share ways you've leveraged that training arcade? Let me get rid of this. Share ways you've leveraged that.
Yeah, sure. I have to admit, gamification trivia was a complete surprise to us. It was a pleasant surprise to learn that ELB acquired the game agency, which then gave us access to the training arcade to blend games into a curriculum or deliver via instructor-led at live events. We, as admins, naturally expected gamification would be fun for the attendees, and it was incredibly well received by the attendees, which is what we hoped for. But we learned that we too, as admins, had a blast with the games as well. So, let me level set this for you. So we wanted to have a way to close out a 9-week online training program and be sure to make it interesting and engaging. So we explored gamification as a solution, piloted it with our stakeholders, and okay, they agreed this would work. So for the live session, as I mentioned earlier, it was a lot of fun, engaging the audience, sufficient that we to enjoy the experience. And off the record, it really didn't feel like work at all. So, well, that aside, we've always been able to use the app within. We've also been able to use the app within our platform very easily and turnkey the process of taking a compliance exam into a trivia game. So being a compliance exam, the passing grade of 80% was a must, but the flexibility to the end user to retake the game exam as often as needed and placing that in the hands of the end user was definitely a plus and enjoyable.
Excellent.
So Peter, maybe now you can show an example of what we've just been talking about.
Absolutely. I was just trying to get control of my mouse again. I have it. And I will take us through. Let me share this screen now. Let me know if you can see.
Yes, we can.
Perfect. I'm going to pull it up from down here. There we go. Too many things open. All right, so the games Janet was referencing, if I can move a couple things around.
We see the VU page.
Perfect. I'm just trying to, there's a live captioning above it that I couldn't get around.
Okay.
I just closed it. So I took us into the training arcade. Janet referenced the tool in which they build different games, trivia in particular here. This is the tool in which you can build up to 10 different games, technically, like Jeopardy, Wheel of Fortune. Janet's done a great job with the trivia game because you can easily build them, easily deploy them inside of the virtual university or the Rockstar platform, as well as flip a switch and just make it instructor-led for that interactive events and meetings kind of thing. So I thought I would show you at least a little bit on how the game was built, how we deployed it into Rockstar. You'll see inside of here, they have trends and analytics. Her games that live here, instead of building a game, I'll just click into one and edit it, just to give you an idea of how easy it is to, one, create the game, but two, deploy it wherever you want. There's always going to be some game information that you have to fill out, things the way you want it to function, titles, how long do you want the questions to appear, what's the timer look like, You can limit certain players and things like that. So there's a lot you can do to kind of customize it to the way you want it to flow. Everything down to even some of the color schemes, the logos, the banners, and things like that, just to kind of make that experience inside the game the way you want it. You could then easily add questions. Trivia is played just like a trivia game. They ask you a question, you have some options, you score more points when you get it right, you're timed. So you can easily just create the questions inside the platform. All you do is drop in your questions and your answers. You can decide if you want to randomize it, change the experience a little bit, provide some corrective and incorrect feedback response, and then go on and add as many questions as you want. So it's super easy to build. And then when it comes to publishing, you're either going to publish out a URL and send it out to everybody to take on their own time whenever they want. You're going to capture that data on the back end. Or you can publish as a SCORM 2004 or 1.2 to place it inside of an LMS if you wanted to. And then the third option is specifically for this game, I think Jeopardy as well. You have the ability to make this game an instructor-led mode. So like the event Janet was talking about, I got the luxury of being the Mark Gindick basically that day to kind of host that event for the leadership team and turn over, flip the answers, interact with people, show the leaderboard to drive some competition. You turn this instructor-led, you now have an admin panel back here that you can be the one flipping the switch and kind of interacting and engaging, see who's answering what, so you can have that back and forth interactivity with the participants of that live event. So it's a pretty cool option. I know it's on Jeopardy. I know it's on Trivia. It's likely be added to more in the future. So that's where you would create it on the admin side. But what I wanted to show you how it relates to Virtual University is from the content admin perspective, where Janet spends a lot of her time producing new content and delivering it. The content's structured in two sides. The course curriculum, kind of like that instructional design perspective, is on the left, and then the content section is on the right. So the library is filled with all of the different sets of content Janet and her team have loaded, almost 2,000, which is quite a bit. But when you're adding new content, you have the ability to go in, and if you're building tons and tons of games inside of the training arcade, you have the luxury of just saying, all right, I could add a file, SCORM object, a video, I could add links. We have an internal rapid builder called the microlearning module, but in this case, I want to add a game. And all I have to do is select the game, and it's going to pull in my library of games that I've produced inside the training arcade that I could easily just deploy right from within the Rockstar platform. So it just makes implementing content a little bit easier, especially when you're doing your games, whether it's like Tora, whether it's other tools. The embedded approach works pretty nicely. So let me stop out on this. Anything to add to that, or I think that kind of covers it, hopefully.
Yeah.
It's funny, Janet, I do remember being on that call with you, with that leadership team. And, the live audience definitely, I will attest, it provided a lot of energy in that virtual room, just made it much more engaging and fun. Some of those people I've been on calls with many times, I've not heard them laugh or, have that much fun on an actual training session, which worked out well. So I appreciate you bringing me on that and kind of rolling that out to them.
Yeah.
So,
one thing I might also add is I just thought of this 2 weeks ago, me planning a day off on a Friday. It's end of day, work day on a Thursday, and I get a request to develop this quiz. And my staff, they don't have access to this tool. So it's like, what am I going to do? And I was so pleased. I was able to do that in like 10 minutes using Trivia and spit out the URL to them. And they did what they needed to do. And I took my day off. So, once again, just speedy and easy to use.
That's excellent. That's good to hear. And I'm glad you got your day off.
Yeah.
Much needed.
Thank you.
So now let's turn our attention to Rehearsal. I know this product you just added recently to your product suite. Can you share a little bit about the need in which came up that you needed Rehearsal and how Rehearsal helped solve that need?
Sure. So like for years, right, as part of one of our onboarding programs, we've had this program called the CAP program, CAP. And the program trains online for, say, 12 weeks, after which came the hot seat, fondly known as the hot seat. So the objective of this former portion of the program was to have attendees practice a script while the entire class listened online. So the coach would then provide open and honest feedback to the attendee live. With Rehearsal, we've been able to change the design a little bit by allowing attendees to practice on their own and then submit their completed recording online to their coach. So along with that automation is the artificial intelligence built into the Rehearsal system. With that, the coach is afforded some assistance with the heavy lifting by setting the stage for criteria review. We call it a rubric, and then which then can be applied across the entire class. So I think it would be helpful, again, Peter, to show everyone the Rehearsal application to get a better idea of how we leverage that tool.
Absolutely. Let me pull it up. And I just noticed Leanna had asked the question, I know to backtrack a little bit, but on the game side of things, that if loaded into an LMS, which we showed, can players still see the leaderboard? Not so much in the LMS, but the leaderboard still tracks everything inside the training arcade admin inside. Obviously, you get some tracking and analytics inside of the Rockstar platform, but as it's Swarm, it's going to just report that data back to, and you'll see back to the training arcade, you'll see all the leaderboard activities and stuff on there. So didn't want to leave you hanging, Leanna, so thank you for that. But Janet, I am happy to show this in action inside of the Rehearsal platform. Let me share this. And I'm going to show it two ways, actually. So since we didn't have approval to show the actual CAP program, some of the advisors and planners, we can't show the content or the people imagery. But what I'm going to show is twofold. I'm going to show, one, how it can be played right from within the Rehearsal activity, because it's a great video practice and coaching tool if you want to kind of practice, your conversations and your pitches on products or difficult conversations for leadership. It's one of the best tools. We started using it ourselves for different products and things about the company that, it's gone over really well. So I brought up my little environment for us to show. Obviously, Janet and the team have access to theirs on the back end where they're creating these different scenarios and assignments and enrolling their people into it. So this is an example if it was played natively inside of the Rehearsal application. There's a mobile app that's involved in this. You could download the app and just do all of this in a native iOS Android app. You could also just customize this and have it deployed on a URL. And what's being assigned here basically is a collection of different scenarios in which you want your learners to kind of practice in video and get coaching feedback by the coach or mentor. So in this case, I've been enrolled in this Rehearsal example with coaching. And I have 3 items to take. And you'll notice I have a date in which I have to do this by. You could set it up real quick. You could set it up, to expand over the course of the year. But my goal is to finish all 3 of these and get a completion status on this assignment. You'll see these other 2 are locked until I take the first one. So in this scenario, I'm taking this first activity. Now, this was presented by my coach or mentor. They want to know about a success story that I've had in my career. You'll see this is still open. My response is required. I have 4 main aspects of this. I have the scenario pitch. This is the ask by the coach. They want to know something about the scenario. And if I play this, hopefully you can hear it. This is actually saying, you got some cool stuff. Give me your best success story. I could listen to that, understand what I want to do now for my success story. I have the messaging, which is like the prompt message. This is what they want from me. It shows me the response criteria, things that I have to make sure I hit on. I want to have good pace, good articulation, a good overall performance. And then you could set up different attachments for, what does good look like, or some examples in which you want them to do. But the goal, it's up to me now. I have this scenario. The coach or mentor has just asked me for my best success story. And now I have one big glaring button here that says record that I can just click and record myself giving that presentation. Talk about my success story. It initializes my camera. I'll say allow since I'm on it twice. Hopefully it doesn't blow up. It doesn't. Activates my camera. It gives me an option to start recording. I could hit start recording. It's going to give me that 3, 2, 1 countdown. Now I'm on the stage. Now I'm giving my success story, making sure I hit all of those key topics that the coach wants to see. I want to have good eye contact, do all of my, everything I want to talk about in this success story, and then hit stop recording. I get to play it back, listen to it as many times as I want. I think on average, it's like 6.5 times. People will just hit that red button, discard it, throw it in the trash. It's gone for good. This is a safe place. Once I discard it, no one ever sees it. And I can re-record it again so I can get that pitch exactly the way I wanted it to. When I'm comfortable with it, I can just hit submit. If I'm sure I want to submit, I am. And then it goes back over to the coach or mentor for them to kind of review it. In this case, it's just volleyed over the net. They get my response. They can review it at their leisure. They can, provide timely comments on it. Hey, this was great, but you really missed out on this, this, and this. Try again. And then they throw it right back to me for, to resubmit my success story presentation. And then it goes back to them to finish that out and give me a passing grade or failing grade, whatever it might be. But you'll see here, I unlock the next gate, which now allows me to go to the next one. So that's if you're deploying it within the actual rehearsal application or mobile app. The other way you could deploy this is if you were going to leverage it within the Rockstar platform. So what I've put together here, let me close this out. Move some things around. So what I put together here, you'll see inside of Rockstar when you're building out content. We talked a little about the library. We talked a little bit about what you can add as far as content goes. But if you notice on this list, there's also an integration with Rockstar, so I can add a physical rehearsal activity. So think about when you're designing and structuring out courses, approach talk is a big topic inside of Lincoln Financial. So that's how we talk to customers. That's how we talk to prospects. We want to make sure that that messaging is correct. So you'll see here from an approach talk course curriculum side of things, this one has been built out with various different modules. This one, I think, is an audio track. This one is a video. There might be another video here. Learn about the approach talk, why it's so important, how you should deliver yours. Now, let's go ahead and add a new rehearsal activity. And all I'm going to do is drop in that rehearsal link, which will integrate right into the system. And now I have a approach talk activity that I can just drag and drop into the curriculum so people can take it in progression and do that. So if I looked at it on the front end now, I go in and search, or I go in and browse for my approach talk. And here's my course now. So I have this approach talk course in Virtual University. I have some audio tracks I can listen to some good ones. I have another audio track. I have a video in which they're going to talk about the approach talk, why it's so important. And now it's on me. Now I have an activity here that's Janet's placed in here, and I can go into it. See, I have an approach talk activity. I can have more details down here. But my goal is to do the same thing I did in the native application, where I am just taken to just the rehearsal activity. So there's no app navigation on the left-hand side. It's solely the learner activity scenario in which I have to take. And again, this is Janet saying, hey, you just learned about why it's so great. The approach talk is so important. Now you guys practice it. And I'll just run through that. Hopefully you can hear that. It's your turn to get on the stage.
We actually cannot hear the video.
No, I don't think I shared my audio, but it's basically said, you've just learned about it. Now it's your time on the stage. Go ahead and practice it. So same fields you saw before, response criteria. I'm just going to hit the record button and give my approach talk. And again, learners can do this right within the LMS. They hit start record. They go through the same exact process to record themselves, give their approach talk, finish it, submit it back to their coach, and now they can move on with their learning path and curriculum inside the virtual university. So it's, it's been implemented quite nicely, and the integration between the two allows you to kind of deliver it a full assignment inside of Rehearsal alone, or blend it within a blended environment inside our Rockstar or virtual university. So hopefully that was hopefully that was helpful. So let me see, close this out, go back to here. So Janet, I know features, functionality, and certainly they're important things when it comes to deploying training on the Rockstar platform, but could you possibly tell us a little bit about your experience with the customer service side of things and maybe share some things, people should expect when deploying training on any platform?
Absolutely. While I've shared a little bit about the various features and tools that we've been leveraging, gamification and rehearsal, none of that stands on its own. What stands behind it and truly gels it all together is client satisfaction. Having a true partnership with you is a critical success factor for us in many ways, right? So, excuse me, true partnership approach, we strategize on leadership objectives, what our needs are, and for us, that was cybersecurity. You've developed APIs and integration to help achieve our goals, and that was single sign-on, and have supported our needs with blended learning initiatives. We also always find that listening to our feedback has been impactful. We've collaborated with you and continue to share feedback, and you've listened and have incorporated most of our suggestions wherever possible, as well as great customer support success. We've reported issues with VU load time. It was slower than expected. We recorded our user experience, shared that recording with you, and boom, that issue has been resolved and the speed time has been significantly improved. We also reported a concern with our VU search functionality yielding thousands of results. And you responded and incorporated a more Boolean type search that provides filtered and exact results. We learned from our admins, for example, that they love the site, they love the thumbnails, they love the spotlight section or featured videos, but found the upload time required to get this done was a production issue. It was slow and has now been significantly improved. So we are very happy. Client satisfaction is right on the mark. So in a nutshell, yeah, it's all about client satisfaction, and we thank you for that.
That's great. Our pleasure, Janet. We value the partnership in your learning experiences, and we look forward to innovating your training for years to come. So I appreciate you sharing that with everybody. It's been a pleasure having you on this stage with us, and I want to thank you for sharing your journey with us. And I hope you're able to provide some great value for people to leverage ELB tools and impact the user experiences, either for employees or customers.
Thank you, Peter, and thanks everyone for joining as well.
Yeah, you bet. Stephanie, I don't know. I do see one question here. Can we see examples?
We do have a question about reports, and I know that probably Janet cannot show us the reports from the actual Lincoln Financial University, but Peter, maybe do you have a demo site that you could pull up and just show a little bit of how reporting works in Rockstar Learning Platform?
Absolutely. Janet, do you want me to show the cyber one, or you want me to just go into the demo site? I can do that.
Yeah, you could pull from the admin system, just show the navigation to reports. Yeah. And then the navigation on the left-hand side of the types of reports that are available.
Yeah, well, I can show, like this one. Like if I typed in cyber, here's the one that was enrolled to the thousands of people per se. And then it brings up everybody's information with progress throughout. And if I go into mine, for example, granted, this one only has one option in here, but I am in progress because I just started it and I didn't complete it yet. I don't have a score passed back. So if this was a cyber course with 12 modules, it would show me, hey, this is a big red checkbox if this was not started, in progress, green is completed, and then scores that are passed back. And all of them are nicely exported to Excel, so I can get all the granular data from within there. But you'll see here, these are all content filters. So I can get, dynamic reports basically based on content views, completions, hey, who's completed what courses or modules, what content is being rated better than others. So I can see trends and analysis of like, based on ratings, this content's the best, this content's not so great. Maybe we want to enhance it. You can do the same things with tags as well. This kind of gives you a nice trend on, hey, compliance content is off the charts, but sales content's maybe a little bit lower or vice versa. So you can see trends in tags as well. This is the enrollment completion that we looked at. User reporting, filters by logins, views, interactivity. I'm going to show it to you. I'll show you something in mind because there is a lot of data here. Let me just pull this up. I know you're not seeing it change. I paused it, but let me just jump into the back end real fast, and then I'll start it up again. Yeah. So if I unpause this, this is a demo environment so we can look at and not worry about the names and things like that. So content views, we looked at enrollment completion. This is what it looks like when you have a little bit more content. So if I know I want the showcase course, this is going to show me everybody that's been enrolled into it, 2 people or 20,000 people, whatever it might be, their progress throughout. And when I click into each one, I'm going to get to see what is that progression of that course look like, who's not started certain things, in progress, completed, the scores that get passed back on Jeopardy games or quizzes and assessments. So I can see all of that here as well. All of these reports are exportable. All of them will have this dynamic chart that'll show me trends and different things. I'm in the user logins area, so I'm seeing logins. I can see everyone's report card if I want to see, hey, what has Peter been doing inside of this system? Boom, I can drill into somebody. It's going to show me my entire history, my enrollments, courses, modules that were completed, and then export if I need it for compliance purposes to submit their transcript to somebody. So I can get into it that way as well from a user login, user details perspective. I get the export. Interactive is quite useful because games that you're building in Jeopardy or things that you're building in Storyline or Lectora or quizzes that you're just building inside the system, you have the ability to capture that granular data of things that are being answered. So I have a quiz in here that I've passed at 100%, but it'll show me actually how many times I actually attempted that quiz to get 100%. Shows me all of my attempts. It shows me all the questions and answers in which I scored on this test. I got things right, got things wrong. I have all that detail back here from a reporting perspective. If you're leveraging events, which we didn't really touch on too much, but it'll keep track of all your in-person trainings and your virtual trainings. Did people actually attend them? We give you the ability to put a completion code on the event so they can get credit either blended within the transcript or curriculum or just as a standalone virtual team events or Zoom event. And then learner activity, we didn't talk about this at all, but we allow you to capture some real world evidence, whether you're watching a video, a SCORM object, just watching a PDF. You can have a learner activity on it to capture some data from the learners while they're taking it. So it's like inline activity items, multiple choice true false, upload some evidence of a certificate that they took externally, and you capture all that data back here. So you have this custom dashboard here for any admin in the system that wants to report on who's doing what in the system. So hopefully that helps.
One thing I also would add is going back to that cybersecurity project. It was a bear, and we really had to have a team work with us through this. So one thing we were able to do was provide admin access to those who needed to get that cybersecurity report whenever they needed it. And it really was a huge, huge help. So rather than coming to, those of us on the back end managing other stuff, they could simply, on demand, get a report, download it as Excel, and, get on with it. So that was also very good.
Yeah, and that kind of talks to those enterprises that we talked a little bit about earlier. The enterprises on the front end can change the experience, look and feel of the application, but on the back end, it also gives you some sub-administrative rights. So you can hand over the keys just to reporting, but just for their subset of users. The super admin and Janet and her team's can always see everything across all of Lincoln Financial. But if I just want this group person to see just their group of users, well, I can give what's called an enterprise admin to them, and they can just see their 500 people in their group and report just on those 500. So that's where that comes in quite handy for that type of initiative.
Yep. Thank you.
You bet. Anything else, Stephanie?
That was an awesome overview of the reporting. We've got a question for Janet. Earlier, when you were showing the trivia game, you talked about how you piloted that with your stakeholders, and that went really well.
Yes.
We get this question all the time. How do you get stakeholder buy-in for something like learning games? So I was wondering if you have any secret tips. Did you bribe them? Did you brainwash them? How did you get them to agree to that?
You want to know my secret? It wasn't a pull, it was a push. So I just, a regular email with the link, take a look. That was it. All they had to do was click on that link and off it went. So they loved it when they saw it, and they played it over and over again. So buy-in was successful.
All right. So the secret is you just make the game and you send it, and then they're sucked in.
Yeah. Let's talk.
Awesome. Peter, this is more of a question for you, I think. How is the process of getting into Rehearsal? Like, do we have single sign-on from your LMS? How easy is it to get started in Rehearsal?
So Rehearsal does have single sign-on the back end. The links that I embedded inside the LMS, you can enable single sign-on for them. So when I clicked it as a learner inside of the LMS, it knew who I was, and it logged me in automatically. So there's a setting on the back end of Rehearsal that, hey, enable SSO, and you could configure it right back there. That will allow it to live somewhere like an LMS or an internal system. Let that user information get passed through to the back end, so it's just more seamless. So yeah, all configurable settings on the back end of Rehearsal.
Awesome. And okay, here's a question that just popped in. What if you don't have the Rockstar Learning Platform, which is the LMS that ELB Learning sells? Can you use Rehearsal? Can you do that single sign-on with any other LMS?
Absolutely. Yep. You have the ability to configure those settings on the back end to configure it to whichever LMS you're going to go into. The integration, obviously, where I showed when you're building out content, hey, add a new module, you won't necessarily be able to do that type of functionality, but you can absolutely link Rehearsal to any LMS or any internal system. It can live as a standalone and also be integrated through that SSO link.
Awesome. Thank you. It looks like those are all the questions we have right now. I'll give everybody about 1 more minute if they have a last minute question. I'm the person who always thinks of questions after the presenters have left. And then it's too late. But otherwise, thank you so much, Peter and Janet. And I will let Mark come back on and take over.
Okay, thank you very much. And
Thanks
everyone for joining as well.
Hey, thanks, Janet.
Thanks,
Thanks, Peter. Good to see you again, Peter.